Hello everyone and welcome to the 2022 Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Star Weekend. We're here at the Push Ridge temporary course located just outside of Tucson, Arizona, where 14 All-Stars have been competing over the last 2 days to put this all together to arrive on Sunday for singles play. And we're seeing our team captains in Paige Pierce along with Katrina Allen, a very tight battle. Paige's team leading 3.5 points to 2.5, but with 7 points on the line today, anything can happen. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined alongside four-time world champ Valarie Jenkins. And Val, it's been great these last 2 days. We saw skills competition on Friday. Yesterday we saw doubles, but today this is straight up stroke play. Yeah. One person against another. They're all seated, and 7 points are on the line.
Yeah, it literally has been all fun and games up to this point, but now they're out on their own and they're seeing their competition right in front of them. So it's going to be a two-person battle in each one of these spots. And like you said, there's a lot of points on the line. So even though Paige currently has the advantage with the 1 point after the 2 days, it really all comes down to singles, I think, because there are so many opportunities. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of battles going on throughout the round.
We saw them battling during the doubles. Here's a few highlights from that took place just 24 hours ago. Seeing Paige Pierce, your team captain, she knew it right when she released it, putting it through the V of the tree. There's OB that looms directly behind it. Jessica Weiss follows with a good putt of her own. Going with the Anheuser. Deanne Carey from way downtown fires it up and then runs it down. I'm going to take another look at it. And the Diesel showed up yesterday and helped her team captain, Katrina Allen, carry themselves into a great battle. Here's Lisa Fakis getting her putter going. No surprise to see that.
And it really looked like Team Katrina was taking the lead in yesterday's doubles matches in all three of the groups. And that was Lisa Fakis actually getting a point, leading them into that final hole. But it was Paige and Heather who took an eagle to tie it up. And that's why we see now that half point for each team.
Well, and speaking of the matchups today, we've got our wild card matchups. They're already out on the course. That's Madison Walker up against Holly Finley. We'll have Heather Young going against Owen Scoggins. Heather Young against Deanne Carey, and then Owen Scoggins against Rebecca Cox. Haley King against Jessica Weiss. Kona Panis squares off with Lisa Fakis, and then Missy Gannon and Sarah Holcomb. And then our captains, my captain, Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen, one seeds versus each other in our final card, our featured card. At the end of the day, everybody's going to be watching as they come in as that last card. We're going to see what happens. How excited are you, Val?
I'm really excited because I feel like, it's the start of the new season. We're seeing these players with brand new sponsors, brand new discs, and this is the true competition of disc golf. Head-to-head, individual matchups. It's going to be fun.
And so many of you guys have been waiting for 2022 action. It's All-Star Weekend. Let's get into it.
Yeah, gotta aim for the top like, hold up, yeah, I can never doubt myself, I know better. All of you critics be acting like you know better. Blowing the smoke, but I know when the dust settles that I'm in my element. It's evident that there's levels to the go. I'm in my element, ooh, yeah. I'm in my element, ooh, yeah. I'm in my element, I'm in my element, ooh, yeah. I'm in my element, ooh, yeah. I'm in my element, ooh, yeah. Keep that.
This is Madison Walker on the second hole of competition. She is squaring up against her fellow wildcard competitor in Holly Finley. That is a park job for Walker. She'd go on to birdie that. Here's Rebecca Cox up against Owen Scoggins. This is on the very first hole. And no better way to start against Owen, but Owen usually has an answer. There it is. They both birdie hole number 1, and they're all square through the first.
Welcome to the final day of the Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Star Weekend. We are here with singles competition. We have Jessica Weiss versus Haley King and Lisa Fakis versus Kona Panis. Our first matchup will be Jess versus Haley, and first on the tee representing Team Page. Please give it up for Haley King.
Right off the bat, we have Haley King now representing Innova for this season.
Her opponent representing Team Cat. Please give it up for Jessica Weiss.
It's not too often that you hear opponent in the game of disc golf, but you always want to play the course, you always want to play against par, but this is true. This is a head-to-head matchup.
First on the tee representing
A
Team
lengthy
Page.
putt
Give
to
it
keep
up
up
for
with
Kona
Haley.
Panis.
And this very first hole coming in at 360 feet. It's a par 3.
Kona representing Dynamic Discs.
And representing Team Cat, rounding out this 8:04 a.m. tee time. Give it up for Lisa Fakis.
And Lisa a little low with the forehand to get started, and I'm going to jump over to Heather Young. She's on the third card. Oh, that looks like a nasty roll away on hole number 3, the 280-foot hole. And sure enough, that is out of bounds for Heather Young. Heather currently with a 1-stroke advantage over Deanne Carey.
Deanne really keeping that one safe out to the right, letting it hyzer back nice and soft on that hillside. This is a really fun course. It was fun to watch in doubles. I think it's appropriately distanced for the women out here. There's about 12 holes under 400 feet. So for our farther throwing competitors, they can easily reach that 400 mark. And even for our players with just a good amount of distance, they can give themselves a lot of opportunities to make birdies.
Lisa Fake is sticking with the forehand approach. That looks like it's going to be a little bit short for Fakis. You know, as we heard Jeff and you just mentioned that you have an opponent, and just to make sure it's clear for everybody out there, they are playing stroke play. So I know we did have the match play event last year, and you were seeing players go up against one another in an opponent type situation. They were playing it hole by hole. Here, they're still playing an overall total score. It just means that at the end of the round, 1 point will be awarded to the person that had the better score overall. So the scores do not reset, so to speak, hole after hole. However, it does kind of have a final match play type feel in terms of 1 point being awarded for one competitor versus the other. And the sun is just peeking up over the mountains in the beautiful Oro Valley area of Arizona. Yesterday they talked about the temperatures being maybe in the low 40s. I'm guessing it's around similar conditions, and then it took less than a couple of hours before everyone had shed a layer or two, and they were playing in short sleeves, and I think we even saw a few pairs of shorts out there, so very quickly will warm up in Arizona.
When you're playing early in the morning, your hands are cold. It's tough to warm up so quickly. And even seeing the players while they're practicing, I mean, still with the hoods on, with gloves on, it's tough to get loose when you're playing this early in the morning. The course hasn't warmed up. The course is still pretty dewy, wet.
And even after that approach a moment ago, you heard Jessica Weiss talking about if her hands were still cold, and it seems as if they're not fully reacting as she would expect.
I mentioned it yesterday, but it's something to be said again. We're excited this year. We're actually going to see these women playing a lot in the morning throughout the season. We're actually going to be covering the entire round of the women's play. We're not going to miss a shot. And so they're going to have to get used to waking up early and playing these rounds when maybe their body or their minds aren't woken up just yet. But I'm excited to see all the coverage of the women this year.
This is Lisa Fakis for par.
Not a great way to start for Lisa. And I do like the element of it's not match play. It's not hole by hole. The game of golf. I mean, you have your chance to redeem yourself, even if you get a bogey on the first hole.
I believe that's what Haley King will be looking at here in a moment after we've seen back-to-back misses by King.
This is for Jess to save par.
And just scooping it in there. Lisa in for the bogey. Here's Kona Panis. I believe in the background I saw Kona's parents out there taking it in, so they made a trip over to watch and to visit. And Haley will tap in, and here's Owen Scoggins with a birdie of her own, and Rebecca Cox right next to the pin. And this is already looking to be an incredible battle between the two of them, as they both sit 2 under through the first 3. This would be Heather Young for bogey after going out of bounds. And Deanne Carey did not make her birdie putt, so they are all squared up. Rebecca Cox on the 4th. This is 460 feet. I was going to call those jazz hands, but those were just wild hands.
We have an OB cart path on the right-hand side of this hole, and then an OB fence line on the left.
And Owen Scoggins' mini comes flying out after her throw. She'll push over to that left side. Likely see a pitch up from there.
It's a slight downhill slope to this basket, so you can get a good amount of distance if you have the right height underneath. But landing where Owen did, it's going to give her a good angle to the basket, which is tucked around the trees to the right.
I love the flight path of that. As you said, if you're not going to get all the way to the pin, the place to be on this particular hole would be more left versus straight on for what you were just saying, Val. See if it gets a little skip back to the right. It does.
Yeah, great skip.
Kona on the tee of 2, which is 320 feet.
This hole is, of course, reachable for a big bombing driver like Kona, and Lisa for that matter. But there is out of bounds really close to the basket on the left-hand side. So those backhand hyzers need to be a little bit wider than comfortable in order to keep them safe. There it is. Lisa was within circle 1, but just skids out of bounds. So again, she'll be putting to save her par. We'll see if she can get it.
Yeah, and we'll have to see where she spotted and if that tree then is directly in her way. As you said, it won't be so much the distance, I think, as it will be the obstacle between her and the pin. Great line by Jess and a park job for Weiss.
The risky play, taking it out over the out of bounds, trusting that it's going to skip, and it looks like Haley's going to do the same thing. She keeps that one much more inside.
That is wide and will be OB. So Haley King off to a little bit of a slow start here in the early goings. So we're taking a live look at the drone overview shot. A beautiful day. Excited to see it warm up. Light winds. Also, some of our competitors, not only today, but mostly throughout the year, I think they're going to have to deal with some of that early morning dew that's on the ground, and I know that came into play yesterday. We saw that even on the 17th hole when Paige Pierce was throwing one of her approach shots, that she was still having to deal with her footwork, also be cognizant of any kind of slippage that she had on an uphill throw.
This event is such a great warm-up for really the first event of the season up in Las Vegas, just a few hours north, giving these players an advantage to wherever they spent their off-season. Get out, play some disc golf, and play it in a competitive way. You know, you get to see your competitors and see what they've been working on throughout the off-season, and I think this is a great warm-up to the season.
After Haley had gone out of bounds. Sounded like that hit a little basket. So Haley looking at a bogey. Kona's has about 45 feet to the pin.
And Lisa has to make her putt from her out of bounds mark. So nice safe layup from Kona. There's definitely going to be some strategy as we head down the stretch, get to the final few holes, and you know, situations like that where you're putting the pressure on your opponent, you're laying up, you're forcing them to go for putts, and it's dangerous with the out of bounds or out of bounds sand traps on this course.
So as you can see, the trees between them, but didn't really come into play. Now, just to expand on your thought a little bit there, Val, the actual score in what they get doesn't really matter. It just has to be one stroke better. So we could see someone winning their match overall with a +4, obviously to a +5 or worse. We could see a match lost with a -6 to someone else that shoots a -7. So the actual scores are only relative to you and your competitor, and they don't matter anywhere to the rest of the field. So that's also an interesting component. Like you just said, there's going to be a little bit of gamesmanship back and forth because they're only concerned about beating the one person they're playing against. A few final tap-ins taking place. Our team captains and our final feature card is going to be just around the corner. Jessica Weiss in with the easy tap-in birdie here on hole number 2. Don't fly away. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
The crowd was so spectacular today. Just the energy from you all was just amazing.
I love you, Oregon!
All-Star Weekend is presented by Discraft, the worldwide leader in disc sports.
First on the tee, number 1 seed for her own team. Give it up for Katrina Allen.
And Jeff Spring introducing our team captain and Katrina Allen. As you've mentioned, Val, number of players with new sponsors. Katrina Allen freshly representing DGA.
Could have been just an inch to the left and it would have been perfect.
Number 1 seed on her own team. Give it up for Paige Pierce.
Paige has been so excited to have a team of competitors all playing together, and she's been right there rooting on her team this entire weekend. It's been fun to watch.
Our next matchup features Sarah Holcomb from Team Cat.
Beautiful
and
shot
Miss
by
Yang
Pierce.
from Team Gage.
Should be a
First
tap-in
up,
birdie.
Give it up for Sarah Holcomb. 2 seed matchup. Representing Team Fade, give it up for Missy Gannon.
And Missy's first drive of the day a little bit low. We're going to jump over to Haley King. This is her drive on 3. We saw this earlier to the elevated basket. This is 280 feet. King going with the backhand. And sliding just inside circle 1. Hole 5 for Heather Young. And that is a great recovery shot.
Did I just hear that Heather Young's not throwing a just true purple disc?
Well, you see the result. She looks like she had thrown it low into the ground, and she's going to have to make a slight adjustment. Hole number 5 is 358 feet, and yesterday at least, we saw most of the competitors getting past those last 2 guardian trees to give themselves a look. So Heather certainly had a little miscue, and now she's saying she needs to get it dyed, make sure it matches the rest of them in her bag. Here's Missy Gannon's approach on 1. Looks like coming a little bit hot. Left with a tester putt on the comeback for the par.
Her opponent, Sarah, is out there in that same left of the fairway position. So take a lot for Sarah to make that putt. So we'll see if Missy can save her par. Wow, getting pinched right behind this tree.
Yeah, as you said, an inch to the left, and I feel like it would have missed everything and probably been parked. But then once it did hit the branch, it curled back behind the tree in the worst possible fashion. And you see the little patent pending pitch up next to the pin. She'll walk away with a stress-free par, but certainly just a few inches away from being a park job.
Pretty close to the circle. I think that was about 10 steps for Sarah. Good to note out there. If there's no circle, you should know how many steps it takes you. Everybody's gait is a little bit different.
I was going to say Sarah's 10 steps there would have been about 16 for me, I'm guessing. Here's Hokum for birdie. Count it. What a great start for Sarah Hokum.
And that's always a good sign, hitting your first putt, whether it's 5 feet, 10 feet, but when you hit a 30-foot one, get some momentum going right off the bat. Pressure from the start for Missy. Don't want the 2-stroke swing to happen immediately. Sometimes it does.
And Pierce will take the 1-stroke advantage over her competitor in Katrina Allen. Missy Gannon is going to fall 2 behind on the opening hole against her opponent, Sarah Hokum. Let's take another look at the putt from the 2012 World Champ, Sarah Hokum.
She's like, yep, I know how to putt. No
I
big
got
deal.
this. We're going to jump over. This is Rebecca Cox.
You never know on these fence lines. The bars are wide enough that we've seen a few discs scoot through them.
And we saw the drive earlier by Haley King just inside the circle. She doesn't convert, so she's going to take a par on hole number 3. And as best as we can, as the scores continue to roll in, as of right now, these are the projected points that we'll do our best to keep you updated on throughout. And of course, I think this is going to be swapping back and forth. Well, it may or may not be, obviously, but excited to see the projections. Team Page, Team Cat, 7-6 right now.
Of course, if all the scores ended right now, if all the rounds ended right now, that would be the case. But there is so much golf to be played as we head over to hole 2.
.320 feet, par 3. That's going to roll again to about circle's edge.
There's enough space behind the basket from where Sarah's putting, but it can still be scary. She's putting directly at that out-of-bounds cart path. And that's kind of the disadvantage to playing it too safe. We've got Missy over here well outside circle 1, inside circle 2. So once you're that far out, you have to try and save yourself, but danger can come into play really quickly.
And this looks like back-to-back park jobs for Paige Pierce. The captain is dialed in to get started. All the pressure back on Katrina. And Cat looks also to be about circle's edge. We invite you to join us out here on the Disc Golf Network. Of course, sign up today and you'll have an entire month's worth of action. Month after month, we're going to be bringing you exclusive coverage of the first few rounds of the event. And then on the final day, you could find us on YouTube, but the party's over on Disc Golf Network. We also have great items you can pick up on the Disc Golf Pro Tour store. Jump along. It's the 2022 disc golf season. Valarie Jenkins along with myself, chairman of the Disc Golf Guy. We're so glad to be here. Here's Kona Panis. Just about circle's edge.
If anybody loves a death putt, it's Missy Gannon. Another putt just outside the circle for Sarah.
Started hole 1 with a 2-stroke lead. She could extend that to 3 with a made birdie putt here. Bottom of the basket for Sarah Holcomb. And just like that, after the first 2 holes, she has a 3-stroke lead over Missy Gannon.
Sarah's got that calm and collected look right now. She's focused. She's playing her game, and it's paying off.
Katrina Allen will pick up her first birdie of the round. She will not be losing any ground to Paige Pierce. Paige bag on bag on back along with stool in hand. That close, that confident, no problem for her. And Missy will tap in with the only par of the group. We're going to jump over to, this is Owen Scoggins on hole number 6. And that was to save par from circle 2. Owen Scoggins, no surprise. We see her putters firing. And she's having a good time with it.
She sure is. She's shooting great golf, too.
Oh, and a very rare miss by Heather Young. Heather Young and Deanne Carey all knotted up at the moment. We're also seeing Owen Scoggins and Rebecca Cox knotted up through 6. Very different scores taking place on that card. Here's Paige Pierce going for her 3rd birdie in a row. I love the angle.
Wow.
So Paige, a combined 22 feet so far in the first 3 holes.
She is looking locked in. These first 3 holes are under 400 feet. This one's under 300 feet. And while we're seeing all these birdies start to get racked up, Kat coming inside the circle, nice putt. Out of the doubles matches, we saw several doubles teams coming in at 9 under par. We had 3 of them, 1 under 8 under par. So the birdies are certainly possible. And nobody was really on yesterday. The doubles teams weren't firing off as much as we would expect. But now in the singles, they've gotten their practice round in. They know what to throw. They know where the danger is. So I'm expecting them to see similar scores. I could see him getting as low as that, maybe double digits.
Just left of pin, gets the green flag. She'll have an uphill putt on hole 3. And I was talking about the combined distance from pin thus far, Val. Paige off to a great start. Here she is again on 1. The drive on 2. All 3 shots that we're seeing from her playing the hyzer route. We've seen some of the competitors going with forehands or turnovers, but holes 1, 2, and 3. Just that nice, smooth, controlled hyzer. Yeah, maybe 24 feet combined from the pin so far. Captain off to a great start.
And these holes have been more wide open. She's just picking the spot in the sky, choosing her aiming point And she knows what her discs are doing. She knows how these discs fly.
This is Heather Young's second shot on hole 7. Commentators from circle 2 doesn't connect.
The sun is blinding from this spot for Sarah.
And just playing it over to the right side of the pin. She'll have a tap-in par from there.
Can Missy take a stroke back? Toes are at the circle edge mark. Wow. I was just watching the flight the entire time and just loved the height she put underneath that. And just standing still. Straddle putt on a hillside. It's an impressive putt to make.
Generating some serious power to get it all the way up and over. Great birdie by Missy Gannon. That's going to bring her within 2 of Sarah Holcomb. And Paige continues to apply the pressure to Kat. For the 3rd time in a row, Paige is right next to the pin. And here, Kat's trying to answer with a birdie of her own. This could roll. And it rolls to about 25 feet. So she's still going to be out. We'll rejoin in a moment. Here's Jessica Weiss for her par. Weiss will remain at 1 under. She has a 3-stroke advantage over Haley King. And what I've noticed, of course, besides the new sponsor disc, I've also noticed her pointer finger looks to be in a little bit different location as she's prepping for her putts. And that one she converts on. So Katrina Allen making some slight adjustments along with her new disc.
I've noticed that too with Katrina's putt. It looks like her wrist is a little bit more open. Her hand is a little bit more facing the target, whereas she had curled her wrist in previous seasons. And there's a lot more movement that can happen there. And even though it's the slightest adjustment.
A little less hinge action maybe, as you're saying. Here's Kona Panis on the 5th. Again, 358 feet. Any shot that gets past those final couple of guardian trees should put them there for a look at birdie.
No out of bounds here, but there's guardian trees at about 50 feet in front of the pin. So it forces players to throw a little bit lower.
Slow start for Lisa Fakis. We'll see if she can turn it around. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
The Destroyer is essential on tour. One of the most versatile distance drivers in Innova's lineup. The new Halo plastic is probably the prettiest plastic that Innova has in their lineup. It makes for a really cool disc to bag. very confident in throwing the destroyer and keeping it in bounds at far ranges.
Welcome back, everyone. We're seeing the scores of our final feature card. Paige Pierce, we heard the gobble gobble, the turkey to open. And speaking of opening things up, we've got Jamie Thomas on the ground. Jamie is checking out the action and seeing what's happening on this lead card. It's the fourth hole, 460 feet.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, Jamie. How's the dew out there? That's my very first question. We just saw a shot by Missy. It didn't slide very much. Is it as dewy as it was yesterday?
You know, not a ton of dew out here right now. It's really dry, and as soon as that sun crests the hill, it heats up very fast. Not a ton of skip like you might expect.
Watching Sarah Holcomb line up the forehand. And Jamie, if you could talk a little bit about the elevation that's out there, because I feel like we're seeing a lot of holes that might be otherwise difficult to reach. However, they're getting there. Is every hole just playing downhill out there?
Downhills and uphills are the design of this course, and we're at elevation too, so just play a little more stable, making people think about it just a bit more.
Looks like that's the first misfire we've seen by Paige Pierce. She's off to the left-hand side. Yes, Kona somewhat muffs her approach shot. That is way off the mark.
Got a lot of height underneath that disc, but fence line on the left. Nice and safe. She'll have a good angle to approach the basket from there.
And we saw
Same mistake she made yesterday,
Kona.
actually.
This is for her par. Oh no, and Kona's par putt is rolling all the way down the hill. We were just talking about the elevation out here. This is not a spot where you would have expected to see such a drastic roll away. And she is fallen all the way back to the back edge of circle 2. Kona would need this putt for bogey. And that sits down, and she will likely give up 2 strokes to Lisa Fakis.
And hole 5 is probably one of the holes that with the least amount of out of bounds. There's nothing around the basket, just a little bit unfortunate, a little bit of bad luck for Kona.
Conversely, here on 4, Missy's gonna have to watch for the out of bounds right of the basket with his forehand. No problem.
And we see Missy inside the circle. Also the first forehand we've seen from Missy this weekend.
I guess I just didn't know where you go. I always think that those. Yeah.
Terry and Val, I think we should get some property out here. Right here along hole 4. Everybody on the back porch watching. Great place to spectate.
They paid for the VIP passes, right, Jamie?
Yeah, they pay VIP to
They
see shots like
should've.
that.
Exactly. Well, scout us out a property while you're out there, Jamie.
Will do.
And Jamie, we can faintly hear some of the neighbors and some of the residents out there. Are they encouraging? Are they trying to give instructions? What are they doing out there? What are they saying?
Oh, they are into it. We've seen signs posted up on their fence line saying, "Welcome disc golfers." There's an energy about this course here, and I hear a rumor that it's going to become permanent, so book your tickets.
Page with awkward stance and positioning. Normally the wall wouldn't be so much of the problem, but it looks like something protruding out.
Yeah, I was worried about her follow through there.
I have that same robe. Thankfully, I didn't bring it to the studio today, but
Exactly.
taking in
Thankfully.
the action. Man, that is a front row seat if I've ever seen one. Here's Sarah Hokum with her second shot.
Now all of a sudden we've got Katrina looking on the outside, hits the basket, but moves into tester range there. Everybody else is pretty close.
Briefly, we'll jump over to Kona Panis here on the 6th. See what kind of recovery she can make after the double bogey on the previous hole. Solid putt for Katrina.
And we always talk about Katrina's putting form. You know, it was something that held her back, and clearly she's been working on it. She's been changing up her routine, the way she holds it. And I think that's so much fun about having an off season in disc golf. These players get to work on their game, try out and practice with their brand new discs, and we do see players continue to advance their skills every season. I mean, Sarah Hokum is a great example of that. Her backhand is looking so smooth and solid every year, and that's because she puts it out there to test. She's not just getting scared and just only doing it in practice. She's doing it when the cameras are on, when the pressure is on, and that's what's making her better.
And Kona Panis was the only one with a look at birdie there on 6, and we see she doesn't convert. Now we're jumping up ahead to 9, 297 feet for Heather Young.
That's a solid headwind right now.
And getting insight from Heather, finding out that this is a headwind on this shot. Lining up against Deanne Carey. Currently, Heather has a 2-stroke advantage over Deanne. And as you just saw, Val, Owen Scoggins, and Rebecca Cox, they're all knotted up, but they're at 2 under each.
This is the hole that we saw the highlight reel of putting in yesterday's round. There's one large guardian tree blocking the basket.
Hole 5 for Paige Pierce. 358.
This is when we get to that, the dog barking area of the course. This could be a little distracting, maybe on the drives, but definitely on the putts.
That's beautifully played by Katrina right there.
I think for the first time we're seeing Katrina Allen with a closer drive than Paige Pierce. It's taken 5 holes, but Paige will have to act first between the two of them.
It really seems to be quiet out there, Jamie. It seems like a serious individual round, not like the All-Star fun weekend that we've been having. The first 2 days, there was a lot of trash talking and joking around, but it seems to be serious.
Oh, most definitely. I'd agree with that. The captains came out early to watch their teammates tee off before Paige Pierce was walking the first few holes with them. You know, it's all fun and games until Championship Sunday, right?
Yeah, and we've seen that Paige has been so excited. She's been posting quite a bit on social media. That's a pretty significant contrast from what you typically see out of Katrina Allen. In talking to Kat a few weeks ago, she was saying that she'd like to get a little bit more involved, but she always says the play comes first. Things like social media are definitely secondary for her. And now we're jumping back to Heather Young. That's her approach shot on 9, very makeable par putt. Also, we have Lisa Fakis here on hole number 7, 349 feet. You must go to the right of the tree in screen there.
But then the fairway swoops far to the left. So Lisa was trying to use the height, but it's just a tough angle to hit. I think the skip play is really the best chance to get a little bit closer to the basket.
Yeah, I think so. Of our FPO division, some of the MPO players are going kind of with a sky hyzer out and around the tree, but I think with regard to the FPO, you're going to see them go low, play the skip, try to push it up the hill as far as they can on that left side. And Sarah Holcomb with some work to do.
It's a good little up there, and like you guys are saying about the skip, this fairway, you really have to pick where the skip is, because when you get off to the right side, the hill gets really steep and kills it.
And yesterday during the doubles, we felt as if this hill was almost a non-factor, but Kona Pana is certainly learning the hard way that it very much comes into play, even on the putts. Jumping back, we've got Deanne Carey. This is for par. Solid. Cat will pitch up right next to the pin. That'll be a tap in. That looks, Jamie, all too much like a pitcher coming off of the mound and someone's just waiting there, holding their jacket, ready for them to get warmed back up. That's what we're seeing with Austin and Kat.
You're seeing a lot of MPO players with their FPO counterparts in a support role this weekend. It's awesome to see. AJ Carey's out here, Colton Montgomery, obviously Austin Hannum. It's great to see.
Now we're with Jessica Weiss, throwing her second on hole number 7.
I think 7 is, well, it's a hole under 400 feet. It's a bonus birdie.
Pierce, no problem cleaning up for the par. Cat Codon taps in, no problem. That is our #1 seed, along with the captain. Stay right here. We'll be back for the Disc Golf All-Stars.
I mean, it's literally the most popular disc of all time in the history of the sport. At its core, it's one of the most important tools a player has in their bag, a dependable, straight-flying mid-range. But the legacy of the Buzz goes a lot deeper than just that.
Welcome back to the tee of hole number 6, a 380-foot par 3. Val, this one's downhill as well.
And they should take advantage of that. Power it down there, get a little skip. It didn't look like she got the forward skip that I would expect.
Jessica Weiss for par. No problem.
Holcomb keeping that wide and safe. Out of bounds on the right-hand side. There's a cart path that runs through the fairway, and that is not out of bounds. It's actually a fence line on the right-hand side. Paige going for that risky line between the fence line and between the tree line.
And that's the
Somebody
aggressive
liked
play
it.
we like to see
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it is.
Just about to pin high. She'll have a uphill putt.
Wow, and look at this, Terry, on the right, or on the left-hand side, forcing it to go to right. But that's tough with brand new discs and knowing exactly when they're gonna bend, exactly how they're gonna fly. Katrina's still learning how these discs work. I mean, think of all the years that she had the same bag and the same worked-in discs. It's gonna take a little bit to get that rhythm and to get that trust in her new bag.
Well, and way up ahead on hole number 14, the wild cards have squared off, and Madison Walker right now in commanding control. She sits at a score of even, as opposed to Holly Finley, who's sitting at +8. So Madison Walker trying to close it out for Team Paige. If so, she'd pick up the point. And we'll see soon if Team Paige will extend their lead that she currently has over Team Katrina. Coming into the matchup, Team Paige was at 3.5 and Team Cat at 2.5. So a win by Madison would, like I said, extend them to 4.5. However, if you look at the overall scores right now, if everything else were to end, even with Madison in control, the rest of the team is falling behind Team Katrina. So the projected scores as of this very moment would have Team Katrina out in front.
And we're making our way closer to halfway through the course. We know Madison and Holly are just zooming through. But yeah, there's a couple of teams out there. I think Haley King on Team Pierce is in trouble. Jessica Weiss is just shredding it. The deficits are starting to grow, but there's still a lot of tight battles.
A little too much power for Sarah Holcomb. That's going to carry deep. We've seen her make from that distance a couple times today. We'll see if she's comfortable with that one. And you just mentioned Jessica Weiss a moment ago. She currently has a 5-stroke lead over Haley King. And earlier in the weekend, we saw her in the distance competition, trying to hone in some of those skills for that drive, but currently 5 ahead of Haley King. Missy Gannon with her approach.
There's a battle going on between Rebecca Cox and Owen Scoggins. A little tied up at 2 under.
Does that sit down? It does. She finds the inbounds area on the very tiny green of hole number 10, putting the pressure on Owen Scoggins. As you said, they are all knotted up at 2 under each. A couple of really exciting battles taking place out there.
Yeah, I don't know what else I would be doing on this Sunday. This is like the thing to watch. This is the sport to watch today.
Only thing on Sundays. As Katrina Allen is going to likely fall back a stroke to Paige Pierce here on hole number 7. Correction, hole number 6. In fact, if Paige converts, it could be 2 strokes. And Jamie, as we're seeing Sarah walk up to her putt, give us a little bit of a read on the wind, because Heather Young was talking about the headwind on 9. What are the players faced with over here on hole number 6?
Well, we've turned a corner on this course, so Hogan's going to be dealing with a right this uphill putt.
It's tough to tell. There's no leafy trees out there. You can't really tell what the wind's doing by a cactus blowing in the wind.
No, just which side of your face is the coldest.
Oh, that needs to sit down. And Holcomb just a touch short. Missy Gannon steps up and fires in for the par. So even with the par, Paige Pierce is going to extend her lead. And we saw Rebecca Cox and the great drive she had here on 10. She's about 45 feet from the pin.
Easiest par ever. I was trying to live.
And a par not too bad actually on hole number 10. Finding inbounds is the number 1 challenge. Walk away with a par, not too bad. We'll see what Owen Scoggins can do to answer. But first we've got Kona Panis. This is a dangerous green on 8.
Wow, she nestled that in there. The basket on 8 is just surrounded by out of bounds.
Heather Young doesn't quite have everything firing yet with the putter, which is very surprising to see. We saw her put up an incredible score on Friday in the putting competition, In fact, I believe she walked away with the hottest score of all competitors. Obviously quite known for her prowess around the green.
That was so much fun to watch. The skills competition where you put your player with the best skill set. I mean, we had Owen Scoggins, Heather Young, Holly Finley racking up big points in the putting competition.
We're going to rejoin. We've got Lisa Fakis. This is her par putt. Mona's underneath the pin. Nice putt.
Make those clutch putts.
Cat the lone line drive on the tee of 7. And Cat nor Page did we really have the angle that was needed.
Exactly, Tara. Hard hill to climb here, especially with a slight headwind.
And these happen to be some low line drives, and even Missy's looking really flat. Yeah, I feel like players would come out here, and this would be the hole you'd want to practice over and over because it's just so difficult to skip up around the corner.
Sarah forced to go essentially with the backhand there. We see her make the Mando, and this hole, because of its difficulty, her positioning is going to be just as good as the other 3 women. So really no damage done there. Here we are with Jessica Weiss on the tee of 9, 297 feet.
Well, with as good as Jessica has been playing, she goes out of bounds.
Certainly going to open the door for Haley King to possibly get a stroke or 2 back.
She needs that door to be swung open. She better start running towards that opening.
Yeah, Haley King is 6 behind Jessica Weiss at the moment.
That's a tough putt. We've seen it before, but we've seen the makes before. So it's not the easiest stroke to get back, but we'll see. She has the height to her advantage, so maybe a little easier to go over those branches.
And Lisa Fakis currently has a 1-stroke advantage over Kona Panis. And there's that tree. That tree has come into play, I feel like, almost every single putt for our competitors over the last day, the last 2 sets of rounds that we've seen, MPO or FPO. That tree is always in the way.
Unless we get a miraculous throw in, I'm expecting to see everyone just pitching up underneath the basket.
I think you got the right call there, Val. The ridgeline on this green can be very treacherous.
Page to land within 12 feet after the uphill jumper.
These hills are getting me. So these hills are getting me. Yeah.
This is Rebecca Cox on the tee of hole number 11, 320 feet downhill.
And the cart path runs down the center of this fairway, and that is safe. There's that larger road on the far left that comes into being out of bounds.
This match is still all squared up at 2 under par for each of them. And that pushes left, but remains inbounds for Owen Scoggins. And Jessica Weiss looking at a bogey there after the OB stroke off of her tee shot.
What a gorgeous view this is. The mountains in the distance. Long green. Beautiful fairways on this course.
And Jamie telling us that they're warm and welcoming of us out here at the El Conquistador Resort. That's such good news. We know that this has hosted a number of events, including the All-Star Weekend, of course, this weekend, but the Arizona States not too long ago. And I've heard there's been as many as 36 holes that have been out here on the property. So great to see disc golf being embraced, and hopefully it becomes more of a permanent structure out at the facility. And Owen Scoggins from way downtown, deep in circle 2. She'll move to 3 under par with that putt. Also, she'll be putting the pressure on Rebecca Cox. Little knuckles with her teammate, Heather Young. Maybe that'll give Heather a little bit more of a jump start, get her going. And also a moment ago on our featured card, they had all tapped in for their pars. Here's Missy Gannon. This is for par for Kona Panis. Correction, that was actually for birdie as she finds short left side of the basket and in. Green flag for Holcomb. Jamie, set up exactly what our players are trying to do on 8. Where's the best positioning for them?
Well, this green goes pinch straight into a corner, and you're going uphill into a headwind with the sun in your eyes. So just make it not too difficult of an upshot's the main play. And that's definitely not what you want to do.
So the first significant mistake that we've seen from Paige Pierce. The question is, can Katrina Allen take advantage of it?
It's perfect. That's perfect there.
Going to rejoin Rebecca Cox, putting for birdie. We just saw Owen Scoggins put in who she's going up against. This is to stay squared up with Owen.
Wow, taking that extra moment. Just stand still, Terry.
So many times I have distracted play by doing jumping jacks actually behind the basket. So I apologize, Rebecca.
I thought you were doing the worm.
So full reset for Cox. And it pays off. Rebecca Cox answers the long birdie seen by Owen Scoggins with a birdie of her own. They both moved to 3 under par.
And for Rebecca, seeing how deliberate she was over that putt, really taking her time, she's got the weight of the entire team on her shoulders. I feel like that's what all these players are thinking about. It's not just you this weekend. You got your team to make proud.
And close for Fakis, but doesn't get it to fall. Looks like it will be advantage for Panis on that hole. Back to Missy Gannon. The standstill.
So hard to put the disc under the basket on this hole. Exactly. You've got to leave a little more length in the par putt.
And high, but in. And Heather not quite as solid as you'd expect to see from her. Again, putting her strong suit. And that one's gone in like a few others have, but not quite as center focus as you would expect from her. Paige with the approach, looking at a bogey. And Kat right next to the pin. So Kat looks like she might be picking up her first stroke back on Paige. I think that'd be for the first time this round. And that would narrow it to just 2.
I feel like hole 7, hole 8, they're tough birdies, but you just don't want to make those mistakes. And right there with Paige and Katrina, you see the mistake from Paige and Katrina just getting a simple par and taking the stroke back. These are things to think about.
So Gannon here with an opportunity to jump ahead of Sarah Holcomb. The par will do it. Oh, and Paige thought that was off the mark, but it pulls it in, and both her and her competitor, Katrina, have a little chuckle about it. As we said, Paige will climb within 2 of, or Katrina will climb within 2 of Paige. Here's the projected. I project that you're not going anywhere. We've got the exciting conclusion right here at the 2022 Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Stars. We'll see you in a moment.
Yes, for yours.
Welcome back. As we are just about to the halfway point for our feature card. Meanwhile, we're seeing Madison Walker is just trying to close out on Holly Finley. She has the 9-stroke advantage over her. They have just hole 18 to play. So we're going to go ahead and put the point in the Madison Walker Team Page category. Tee of 9, 297 feet.
And if Katrina could skip far enough past that tree, it's more open. But we saw from Kona, going on the left-hand side of that tree gives you a more open look while you're putting at the pin. There is a sand trap over on that left-hand side and behind the pin.
And it seemed as if that kicked off the fence. I want to check in with some distances and Jamie Thomas in a moment, but first we've got Heather Young. This is for her birdie. And just short, way deep in circle 2. Missy Gannon with the tee shot on 9. That's leaking right. And Jamie, any chance you have your Bushnell rangefinder with you out there? I am having a hard time believing this is 297 as we're seeing so many players come up short of it. But Owen Scoggins putting in another birdie.
The uphill certainly plays tricks with the distances, and that low tree in the uphill. Add those things together, it's tough.
And actually staying away from the tree is Sarah Holcomb. It's just such a collection point. Out of the 30 drives I've seen on this hole, I feel like 29 of them have been right next to that tree or very close to it. Kona Panis, Lisa Fakis all knotted up through 9. And as we said, Haley King, a huge deficit to Jessica Weiss. Jessica in favor there of Team Katrina.
And now we're heading into the back of the course, the back 9 holes. And we've seen all par 3s up to this point. When we get to hole 14, we see our first par 5. And then this course finishes off with 2 par 5s on 17 and 18. So distance can help Haley King once we get to those longer stretched out holes. But she has a lot of strokes to improve upon. It's starting to get away from her.
And just 11 days from now, we're going to see all of these all-stars and more joining us in Las Vegas, the 24th through the 27th, a 4-day event to kick off our 2022 Disc Golf Pro Tour season. Excited to take in the action. Sarah Holcomb from long range finds the tree on her second shot.
Just sitting right there in the branch.
So much want there.
What do you know?
And that was Kona for par a moment ago. Lisa Fakis looking to take advantage. Now here's Missy Gannon. And you can only be so aggressive, Val. You were just talking about the sand trap that's directly behind that bunker. So from that distance, you're not going to see much of a run. That's certainly a pitch-up territory.
If I'm caddying for Paige here, I'm telling her, lay this up. I don't know that Katrina's in position to really be aggressive, but I don't know that Paige would listen to that.
Jamie, I don't think anyone telling Paige to lay up would really be received too well. We know she's not much for laying up. We'll see what she does here, though. This looks like a full send.
And look at how close. We can barely see the sand trap at the bottom of our screen. It's close to the basket.
Does Pierce listen to Thomas? Oh.
Well, it's under the basket.
The result is the same, Jamie, but certainly going for that. What is Katrina looking at here? Through the V?
She's going to have to go up and over and just drop it in softly.
Like that?
Just like that.
Great putt for Katrina Allen. Yes.
That's what makes this so incredible to watch, these amazing players. And you can see even the homeowners nearby love to see disc golf at their neighborhood course.
And with that, a big shout out to Jeremy Herr along with the Tucson Disc Golf Club. I know Pete Uliberry had a hand in some of the original design work out here, but Jeremy and crew, I know working with the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour staff to be our host here for the weekend. And from what I've heard from all of the players, they're having a great time. And of course, with these beautiful views in this great venue, pays to be an all-star. Straddle putt for Holcomb to save her par. And what was a 3-stroke deficit just a few holes ago is now trimmed down to 1 due to this putt. Katrina Allen cashing it in. Right through. Were those uprights? Was that a field goal? Is there any of that going on today, Val?
I think we'll see a few more field goals throughout the day. And that's the thing. I mean, even though Jamie's talking about it, yeah, it's a little treacherous. Paige probably should lay up. That'd be the smartest play. You can't back down on this competition. I mean, even though Katrina looked out of position, she still steps up and cashes the putt. And those are those opportunities. If you just concede and lay up underneath the basket, the players behind you are going to take those strokes from you. They're just that good under pressure.
And right now, the hottest round that's on the course is taking place between these two women, Rebecca Cox and Owen Scoggins. They're both at 4 under par. Rebecca is inbounds, as will be Owen, but Owen with a much more difficult approach as hole 13 looms at 360 feet. And we saw Kona miss her par putt a moment ago, but Lisa had just tapped in for hers.
They look healthy, dude.
Looks like a small pack of coyotes running around, taking in the action. They got to replenish their chips and salsa for the afternoon round.
What?
They're taking in the action. They were spectating. They have to run off to the store. All right, never mind.
Oh, jeez.
Owen has laid up. This is for Rebecca to take the advantage, and she's just off the mark.
There's always great camaraderie, I feel like, in the women's division, but even more so when it's your teammate. You see Deanne giving her fist bumps and talking her up. That was a great attempt from Rebecca.
Missy Gannon, T of 10, 482 feet.
And the danger on this one, there's a golf green in front of the pin and to the left, and then there's also a sand trap even shorter out of bounds surrounding the entire fairway.
That stays in bounds.
And both of those hazards are right in that zone where we're expecting the players to land up near. There's just not a lot of landing zones to get yourself close to the basket on this one.
Sarah Hokum short but safe. Kat with all of the momentum between her and Paige at the moment. She now just sits one behind Pierce.
That's a safe line all the way.
Yeah, I think a little bit more flip is probably what she dreamed up on the tee pad, but being off to the left, she's nice and safe. She's even with that golf green, but inbounds.
Jamie, do we think Paige is attacking the green here?
I would bet. She's got it over to the right. Watch that bunker. Fantastic.
It curls up on the backside. Yes, Jamie, it curled on the backside. So Paige is going to have a look at a birdie. She's trying to get back to a two-stroke advantage over Katrina. And now we're going to rejoin Lisa Fakis. Great shot by Lisa. Lisa currently with a one-stroke advantage over Kona Panis.
Hole 11, 320 feet. Out of bounds road on the left. And she gets the red flag.
Kona Panis certainly in trouble against Lisa on 11. Now here's Heather Young. And that was to save her bogey. Confident stroke, but nonetheless for bogey. Kona Panis trying to save her par after the OBT shot.
Wow, Team Paige with out of bounds throws, missed putts. Looking a little shaky, even though Team Paige came into today with that 1 point advantage over Team Katrina. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. The singles matches, there's a lot of points on the line, and there's a lot of close matches. We're starting to see a few matches kind of just solidify themselves. We got Madison Walker in for the point in card 4.
It's a fake-ass birdie. So you just saw the projected scores a moment ago. That's going to change here as Lisa Fakis and Kona Panis are squaring off one against another. And Kona will take the bogey. She's going to move to 4 over. Lisa Fakis will move to 1 under. We're back with Sarah Hokum throwing her approach on hole number 10. And officially, Madison Walker has defeated Holly Finley. Madison shoots +1 on the round. Holly Finley shoots +9. Also, I was going to say, they played in just a twosome, and they went out there this morning, and I thought they might set the pace for a score that could maybe be expected. But we're seeing not far behind them on card 3, Owen Scoggins and Rebecca Cox, both sitting at 4 under through 12. So we'll see if they can finish strong through the par 5s. Val, you mentioned it earlier. There are 3 par 5s in the last 5 holes of competition. And the back half of this course really stretches out. Speaking of stretching out, Katrina Allen, little backhand pitch up to the pin.
Nestles it under the basket, but we know Paige has a look for birdie.
Yeah, and that birdie looks just going to be slightly uphill, not much. Not much of a wind to speak of either.
That's a good side of the basket to be on, putting uphill. You don't have that death putt looking back down the hill and risk of getting a worse score, but got a great look almost at the top of the hill, so a little bit more flat footing than I would have thought.
Not exactly firm in the center of the chains, but it doesn't matter because it finds the bottom of the basket, and she will take another stroke back on Katrina, which should extend her lead to 2. Assuming Kat makes this putt.
Oh man, perfect battle putt. I know. Did the more direct route, so I figured you'd get there first.
Missy Gannon and Sarah Holcomb will remain all knotted up through 10 holes. Both competitors sitting at even. Here we are with Jessica Weiss, the tee of 12, 360 feet. Sets up great for the forehand. Yeah, about that great. Nice shot by Jessica Weiss.
Who needs a flyover when you've got Jessica Weiss pinning the hole?
And right now, Jessica coming into this hole with a 5-stroke advantage. That is way wide off to the left side of the fairway and not fighting back.
Whoa, almost finding the water long. This is a 360-foot hole. Haley King's throwing 400 on a sidearm.
Owen Scoggins on her first par 5 of the day, hole number 14.
That was not even your full run. You throw so far.
And if Owen was, well, she could only have a good time out there. If you took a poll of all the women and you said, who is the most fun to play with? Is she number 1, number 2, number 3? Where do you put her?
She's up there. Yeah, she is a fun one to play with because she is competitive. She'll talk trash. She'll push you to play better. And I think those are the most fun players to play with because it gives you that, reminds you of that reason why you're there. You know, and similar, I'm thinking of Elaine King.
Yeah.
She's in that similar respect of like, you want to play against Elaine, but she's not, if you do a bad shot, she's going to let you know and she's going to trash talk you and push you to be better. And Owen is a similar player in that respect.
Yeah, and conversely, not only will they talk a little trash, but they're the first ones to yell the loudest, to cheerlead for you when you do throw a good shot as well. So they're right
Yeah.
there on both sides of it. It's not just the ribbing and the good-natured fun that they can have. She'll also be there to give you the high five, the fist bump, and say good shot when you throw one. So
Yeah, they're there for the good golf. They're there for a good time.
2 great competitors. And here's Paige Pierce finding herself inside the circle. Hole number 11, 320 feet.
Cart path inbounds on this one. It's always a scary thing when you see the disc rolling towards any paved area or cement area. You just assume it's out of bounds.
Let's see how Katrina answers. And this looks like it might be even closer. And just barely. Nice shot by Katrina Allen.
Throwing away from the mountain here on this one, so a little bit of a tail, a little bit of a left to right, but not too much.
That's a nice thing to have a tailwind to your advantage on this crusher of a hole.
Missy Gannon trying to move to 1 under par. Trying to also separate herself from Sarah Hokum. Currently, they're all knotted up through 10.
I'm thinking she's lining up the backhand here, Terry. It's a different approach to the tee pad. Wow. Just really putting so much trust in that. 320 feet to the pin. OB on the left-hand side. It's a risky play for a backhand.
She'll be inside the circle. Here's Rebecca Cox. Again, that's hole number 14, the par 5, 754 feet. Lisa Fakis giving that what I would call that a half bid. So that was Lisa for what would have been birdie. And now here's Kona with a birdie look of her own. Kona currently 3 strokes behind Lisa, which is exactly why you saw Lisa not get too aggressive with it. She doesn't want to give up any unnecessary strokes, and she's going to put the pressure on Kona to try and perform, and Kona doesn't answer, so she'll walk away still with a 3-stroke lead. And from there, I think you're going to see that conservative play. You know, she can just simply react to where Kona has placed herself, or says, hey, I'm going to put it up here, be safe with it, and I'm going to have to force you to make the play. And right now, Kona's game, at least her short game, isn't looking like it's incredibly dialed. And Lisa's recognized that.
Yeah, on the other hand, it's Kona. Any chance that she can get an opportunity to make up a stroke, she needs to go for it. You know, this isn't our typical tournament round where we're playing tomorrow and we can make up for it. Just like Sarah Hokum, you get the opportunity, go for it.
And Hokum recognizing that if she's had any misses today, they've been just a bit short, just like that one. Paige Pierce for birdie. And never a doubt.
Incredible amount of focus with the car behind. I know there was a distraction in the distance. Not letting those distractions be an excuse to miss a putt.
And she's run over to watch her
Trina looking
teammate
to
Heather
answer.
Young throw it a hole ahead.
Need a little pep talk, maybe.
Heather currently 1 stroke behind, or in front of Deanne Carey. Here's Kat to answer, and she does. So Kat will remain within 2 of Pierce. And Missy Gannon looking to break the tie between her and Sarah. Steps right up, fires in. She'll move to 1 under on the round, and more importantly, a 1-stroke separation between her and Sarah. We're going to jump ahead to hole number 13. This is Kona Panis, 360-foot tee shot.
And backhand drives are going over the water to land next to the pin. There's not a lot of space here, and Kona absolutely pins it.
Incredible shot by Kona Panis. That should pick up at least a stroke. It could be more, as we're now seeing Rebecca Cox. Long range look from deep in circle 2. She's squaring off against Owen Scoggins. Here's her approach. And inside the circle. Tee of 12, 360 feet. Missy Gannon. Wow, she would have loved for the basket to get in the way for just a moment there to slow it down. Looks like it went to about circle's edge. What a great drive by Missy Gannon. Should be putting slightly uphill, back up at the basket. This hole sets up very well for a Sarah forehand. That'll work.
Sure called it there.
Now, Jamie, most of the time when we've seen someone throwing a backhand, it's usually been somewhat of a flex shot where they throw it to Anheuser and then it flexes back at the end. Do you feel like that's what Paige was doing there? Was she trying to throw the flex, or is she trying to go straight Annie the entire way to the pin?
I think she was trying to do what Katrina Allen's doing right here. A little bit of a slower disc, keep it on that turnover line, but just got it on edge.
So certainly advantage Cat there. Here's Owen Scoggins cashing in yet another one. And Owen taking the advantage. They've been deadlocked for as many holes as I can remember, actually, and now Owen pulling out ahead by a single stroke after the first par 5. And Heather Young had relinquished one back to Deanne Carey here with that putt. So that's what pushes them to 2 each to +2.
Wow, I'm trying to do the math over here and figure out where the points are going to be. And card 1, advantage Paige. Card 2, advantage Katrina. Card 3, neck and neck at this point.
Here we are on 15, 342 feet. And if the rounds were to end at this very exact moment, we'd see Team Paige would have the advantage over Team Cat. But stay tuned, because that's going to probably change in the next few minutes, as it has been jumping back and forth. And speaking of which, Paige is going to need this if she doesn't want to give a stroke back to Cat. So Paige with a par would remain at 4 under. If Cat converts the birdie, she'll move to 3 under still. Still the advantage for Pierce. However, it's been cut in half. Missy Gannon picked up a single stroke on the previous hole. And with Sarah Hokum underneath the basket, she's going to need this putt.
It's got to be frustrating, especially for a player like Missy, who relies heavily on her putting game to score. And so just leaving herself out, that far away from the basket kind of seems like at today's round, it's flipping a coin. They're not looking as confident. She's not reaching for the center of the chains.
What a great battle back and forth that we are seeing. As I said, that will cut the lead to just 1 for Paige Pierce over Katrina Allen. And Missy Gannon will now be all knotted up with Sarah Hokum when Sarah taps in. We are about 2/3 of the way through the round right here with our team captains. Stay here. You're watching the Disc Golf All-Stars on the Disc Golf Network.
This is latitude 64. The smallest of grains handled with the greatest passion. Always trying to improve, always trying to be better. Out of curiosity, excitement, thrill. For the player and the sport. Because we want to make disc golf awesome for you.
Over here on the 13th hole, I think this is probably the signature hole of this course. Katrina looks disappointed in her attempt. She saws it off to the left, but the best shots, you have to throw that full 360 feet, slightly uphill, over water, but have to have your disc pinpointed next to the basket. Anything that flare skips could go into the golf green on the left-hand side of the basket. And Paige gets that squirrely skip. She ends up rolling, and you hear everybody screaming, no. She gets the red flag. She's out.
Oh, that doesn't seem fair after such a great tee shot.
Yeah, and it just shows you how good Kona's shot was that she was able just to stick it under the pin. This green is not easy to stop it.
Green flag for Holcomb. She's safely inbounds. And Missy Gannon also inbounds. We're going to take another look at Paige's drive here on 13.
Going the full aggressive line over the water. But with that hillside, if your disc gets up on edge, it just goes rolling into the water. It's really tough just to make it stick. And thinking about it, I mean, even though it wasn't the shot Katrina wanted to throw, you can kind of be disappointed, but at the same time, Katrina's safe. She's safely in bounds. It's going to be a tough upshot to get to the basket, but you're saving a stroke just landing in bounds off your tee shot.
Of all the holes on this course, from what I've seen over the last day and a half, this is the one that scares me the most. Just danger everywhere. We see a good shot, a good tee shot like Paige Pierce's, come hit right next to the basket and then still roll out of bounds. And now even an approach shot, like you said, by Katrina Allen, not necessarily a little gimme pitch up there. She's executed it perfectly, but that's exactly what it takes. That nice, soft, gentle landing with just the right angle so it doesn't catch an edge and then roll down the hill OB. Just the right control for Sarah Holcomb. That'll work.
I think she held her breath on that one. It skidded so close to that golf green out of bounds. Again, how much trust do you have to have in your backhand throw to land it softly next to this pin?
This is about 45-48 for Missy right here. She'd love to put this one in.
Well, it sits down for her. Certainly part of the danger in connecting with any metal is having it get up and then possibly roll away. But should be tapping in for the par. Holcomb also close enough to tap in for the par, so I believe we're going to see them both walk away from hole number 14 here. Still all knotted up at 1 under. I want to get ahead of myself. Hole number 13, Val.
Oh wait, are we doing new PDJ rules too? Yeah. Sweet.
I'm not aware. Are you aware of the new PDJ
Talking
rule?
probably in reference to the a semicircle, as opposed to you can bring it out at any given angle, as opposed to just directly out. I'm assuming that's what she's referencing.
Well, that just reminds me, I gotta refresh myself on what the new rule changes are, and I know there's a new one with how you line up to the mandatory, but now you line up to the basket always. New things.
Owen Scoggins. Oh, and that lands OB, and you see a little frustration by Owen. Again, that battle that's taking place between her and Rebecca. And right now, Rebecca Cox with the hottest round of all competitors here for our singles competition.
Now they're over on hole 16, so she can continue to maintain that. And really, it comes down to playing safe. Nice, accurate shots and keep it safe, especially on 16.
300 feet. And this one quite attackable. We saw that this one was birdied by almost every card during the doubles yesterday.
So all those tall trees right there off of the tee pad, that's all out of bounds. There's an OB golf green short and left, and there's also a sand trap over there as well. So a backhand hyzer, you can go out wide, keep it safe, but Owen is just gunning it with a sidearm. It's safe. There's so much space out there on the right-hand side, so she's plenty safe.
And out of all of our FPO competitors, Owen, I think, coming in with some of the shorter distance compared to the rest of her field mates here. So maybe a little bit more challenged by this slight uphill on 16. Doesn't look like she'll have any advantage over where Rebecca had landed. Here's Deanne Carey. Light turn. If this just fights back a little bit, we should see her up near the circle's edge, and that's exactly where she lands. Heather Young and Deanne Carey all knotted up at 2 over par.
Few trees that'll make it tough for Heather to get close to the pin. She left that real low. Doesn't get that enough speed to climb up the hill.
Yeah, she really needs to at least hit that short grass, I think, to get a little additional carry.
One time!
Jessica calling for it. She wants it to drop. We heard a little metal hit.
I think she was getting excited for the potential to get in is a par 5, possibly throwing it in on 2.
Either way, and to be fair, not sure she needs the help at the moment. She currently sits 6 strokes in front of Haley King. And as we said just a few moments ago, we saw Paige with the distinct advantage on her team with the projections, but right now, if it were to end, Katrina's team is out in front by a single point. So we move over to the tee of 14, the downhill, 754-foot par 5. And Jamie, talk to us a little bit about positioning on this hole. Crazy almost to see Sarah Holcomb go with a backhand off the tee. Is that because she just wants to be to the left?
Yeah, there's a lot of real estate to work with. I mean, she might be able to set up that second shot. Good to see as well. It's a big drop, as you guys can see, from the tee down to where the landing zone for your drive is.
And missing near the cart path, that's inbounds. It's only the road way off to the far left side that's considered out of bounds. So that cart path inbounds, and she still will remain inbounds. And now, Jamie, I know you said there's a lot of real estate off to the left, plenty of room. Talk to us a little bit about the angles, though. We'll come back to you in just a moment. First, we're going to see Owen Scoggins with a long jumper. And now we're going to have Deanne Carey here on 16. Uphill from about 45.
Oh, almost.
And with Owen's miss, this is an opportunity for Cox to pick up another stroke. Oh, no, it needs to sit. It does. A good bit off the front of the basket, though. And now, Jamie, we're watching all of the crowd and the gallery move into position. There's a few trees on that left-hand side. Do those come into play on the second shot, or are those something they're not going to have to worry about?
They definitely will for the backhand dominant, and that's kind of what I meant for Sarah Holcomb. The fact that she can flex that forehand back around, it's going to be a little tough. Watch the Paige versus Cat. Watch their lines and see what they're going to have to do on the second shot here.
And hole 14, it's the par 5, but it's 754 feet. So it's shorter in the realm of par 5. So 2 great shots, especially with distance throwers like Paige and Katrina. They can set themselves up for a scoring opportunity for sure. Birdie, eagle possible. I guess we saw it on 18 yesterday, so chances for eagles in the back 5 holes. He's got some tricky footing here. Looks like a sprinkler hose right in the middle of her run-up.
Looks like she made a great adjustment. Finds herself in the fairway. incredible to see us through 13 holes and that both of the matches on this card are squared up. Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, each at 3 under par. Missy Gannon, Sarah Holcomb, both at 1 under par.
Love to see this play from Katrina. The second part of this hole finishes to the right and uphill. She wasn't able to do the roller very well yesterday in the doubles match. Let's see if she's got it in her today.
I like the angle. It just needs to curl a little more aggressively. And that's going to put her, wow, within throw-in range for sure. Uphill, so she could be a little bit more aggressive. She'll have to worry about a potential metal hit and roll away, but that's within throw-in range for someone like Katrina Allen. Great shot. Now we have Kona Panis' second shot. Kona still trailing Lisa Fakis. Kona over par while Lisa sits at even. And even closer than what we just saw from Katrina. So she'll be able to react to what Katrina does. We'll see just how aggressive she wants to be. Here's Lisa Fakis with her approach.
Sit. Jessica Weiss still maintaining that solid lead over Haley King. She's running at these pins in the last few chances we've been able to check in with her, but she just needs to play consistent. Finish it out. You're doing fine.
The absolute last thing she should do right now is get too aggressive and possibly give away any unnecessary strokes. Like you said, consistent, smooth, calm. Just try and walk this thing in at this point. It's pretty incredible to have a 5-stroke advantage over Haley King with just a few holes left to play. So smooth and steady, that's all she needs. Here's Missy Gannon with her third, and that's matching the hillside, and will dip outside the circle. Uphill putt for her. Taking another look at the projected scores. This is how they stand at this exact moment if all the matches were to end as they are, with Team Paige trailing by a single point behind Team Katrina.
Yeah, and we're seeing it level off from that previous check-in where Paige was leading by so much. So now card 1 all tied up. Card 2 advantage Katrina. Card 3, pretty close race between the two teams.
And as we said earlier with the wild card competitors, Madison Walker already picked up a point for Team Paige, shooting +1 to Holly Finley's +9. Here's Sarah Holcomb, her third shot, trying to climb up the hill, and she'll be again at circle 1. And we've seen 4 or 5 putts now from Sarah Holcomb who have been right at circle 1. The first couple she made, and then since then it feels like she's been just a bit short on them. Let's see if she can make an adjustment here on this par 5.
Katrina Allen looked like she was lining up the Kona Panis sidearm slow throw-in, but going for the backhand here.
And Kat doesn't want to get too close to the basket. She doesn't want to possibly hit the the support of the basket, the pole, or the wheel, or anything to do with any of the metal that could pop it up on edge. Just playing out to the side of it, looking for the tap in. Paige, I'm guessing, is going to be a little more aggressive. I think this is full attack on the basket.
was a severe slope. The more you talked about it, the scarier in my mind it got to have Paige go for that putt. Nice to see her under the basket.
I believe that was the second shot for Deanne Carey on 17. Enough power in the stroke there by Missy Gannon, but off the mark. Sarah Hokum actually finding herself just a step or two inside the circle. And Sarah Hokum with the chance to take a lead over Missy Gannon. Oh, and what a putt by Hokum. Up and over the edge, left side, just barely maintaining her balance from inside the circle. And Sarah Hokum with the advantage over Missy Gannon. And Val, this has to be a different mentality because, of course, Kat is in this incredible battle against Paige, but at the same time, she's cheering all along for Sarah Hokum to do better than Missy Gannon, and that's not something you're usually used to seeing or feeling out on the course. Or maybe you're keeping all of your thoughts self-contained, but
yeah.
knowing like, hey, I'd love to see Sarah, you know, do one better than Missy Gannon. A lot of emotions taking place. Here's the forehand, the forehand shot by Heather Young.
So this is the close race that I was talking about here on card 3. Heather Young, Deanne Carey tied up, and currently Rebecca Cox keeps that lead, just slightly over Owen Scoggins.
I believe this is Deanne's third. We saw Heather Young's third a moment ago. Hole 15, 342.
The golf green out of bounds on the right, cart path on the left out of bounds. Doesn't matter when you're under the basket.
Good looking shot there for Katrina Allen. Slight uphill putt remains. Allen and Pierce both at 4 under par, all square for their match. Looks like similar positioning for Pierce.
Now Hokum's gonna work the sidearm and carrying it close, maybe over the cart path on the left-hand side. But she has to make sure she's releasing it with enough height because the basket climbs up the hill, so anything low is likely just gonna stay low.
Missy Gannon steps up to 15 with the 1-stroke deficit. Hokum gained that on the previous hole.
Oh no. Nothing. Nothing.
Gets the green flag, but barely safe for Missy.
So close to danger here. Jessica Weiss. Great shot by Weiss on 16. Here's Rebecca Cox. And Rebecca coming into this hole with a one-stroke advantage over Owen Scoggins. Heather Young and Deanne Carey entering here with a all knotted up.
Ooh, and wow, almost found the golf green out of bounds on the left-hand side. That's short of the pin, about 60 feet.
Now we have Lisa Fakis with a birdie look. Count it.
There we go. Bringing Lisa Fakis to 1 under par, 4-stroke advantage over Kona.
Looking like she might have that match almost wrapped up with just a couple of holes left to play. Lisa Fakis under par.
Wow, and this shot just shows how dramatic that hillside is. Sarah Hookham's almost at the bottom of it.
And here I've got to be thinking with Missy already out of position, you know, walking away with at best the par. I don't want to get anywhere near metal on this basket. You just really want to get it up to the pin and pitch up just short of it or get somewhere near it so you can tap in and walk away with a stress-free par.
Yeah, and the battle that's going on between Missy and Sarah, it's just been back and forth between the two competitors. And so now that we're getting close to the finish line, you know, they should only be going for shots that are the most obvious or the pressure's on because their competitor made their putt. You know, this is the time that they need to just kind of buckle down and play golf.
42 feet for Allen, and she cashes it.
Dang.
Katrina Allen will move to 5 under, putting the pressure squarely back on Paige Pierce to answer. Kat right now with the advantage.
And the hot score of the day. That was a massive putt from Katrina.
Paige must answer this with a birdie to stay on pace with Katrina Allen. And she does. The 5-time world champ not to be outdone. And they both will move to 5 under through 14 holes.
Nothing helps Paige Pierce get back on track with her putting than a pressure putt like that. For the rest of us, we're shaking, knees knocking.
You even see that Sarah Holcomb from Team Cat gives Paige the high five as they walk past each other, recognizing the solid answer to Katrina's birdie. Meanwhile, Missy and Holcomb will still have the 1-stroke differential.
Over here on 17, the par 5.
Oh, Scoggins getting the green flag.
She likes it. Good up shot from Deanne Carey.
And you just saw the approach. Here's where Owen had landed. And of course she converts on the putt. I don't think there was much of a question about that. Deanne with a solid putt as well. Jamie Thomas is out on the course, and Jamie, not great with geography, but is this one of the higher points that we find out on the course, the green of 17? And is it windier up there?
Give up on the peak, but we are up here on the top. The shadows of the ridge, as the neighborhood says, and downhill. Very exciting layout here.
Top of the hill, but not the greatest reception up there. We'll catch back up with Jamie here in a bit. Here's Sarah Holcomb teeing on 16. Nice and safe. Maybe. We got the golf green on the left-hand side, sand trap on the left-hand side as well. It's all open on the right.
Yeah. Go.
Our captain, Pierce, likes it, although that really stabled up at the end. I wasn't expecting that much of a hard finish for Missy Gannon's shot, but that's going to be inbounds, this 300-footer.
Yeah, it's true. She aimed pretty much directly at the pin as well, so not allowing it to flip over as much. She hyzered out early. She's short on the left. Again, we don't know what Sarah's shot will be. Inbounds are out.
Well, can Paige answer again? That's the question, Val.
There's a reason that they've been one of the best rivalries in our sport. They push each other to be even better each year.
Not quite as close, but certainly in makeable range for Paige Pierce. And as you said, Val, these two have been battling for the better part of a decade, back and forth. Kat with the long jumper from the middle of circle 2. Putting the pressure back on Paige Pierce. And straight ahead, chains for Pierce. She answers. They're knotted up going into 16. Now we'll see if Paige can do it again on the green of 16.
And this time, Paige has the advantage of going first. However, Katrina is much closer to the pin.
And looking at the projection, yet again,
Whoa.
Team Paige with a significant deficit if it were to end right now. And we see so many of these battles are still very close. A few of them are locked in for Team Cat, but a couple of the other ones are very close yet.
You guys.
It's going to be great because our two captains, our #1 seeds, will be coming in on the final card with the final hole, the final shots, and they could, in fact, determine the fate of the overall team.
Yeah, so card 2 has always been advantage Team Katrina, but now card 3 is turning to Team Katrina, and that's what those big point swing have happened. Got the tie, of course, with Paige and Katrina, and any ties, they'll get half a point.
Yeah, it's like the new rule.
Canceling each other out.
Dude, I just read the prompter. I don't know the rules like that. Let's see. Pretty sure you could. Doesn't matter if you're OB or not. It's just the same relief. Because what else am I supposed to do? I do the old rule,
I go, because I have to take it in.
Yeah, out.
What am I supposed to do? The old rule this one time because I'm not OB versus the new rule because
whatever.
I
It
mean,
says, whatever the
no,
rule
that
says.
sounds retarded. I mean, that sounds really dumb. I'm sorry for that word, people. Accident. Look, I'm just gonna do this. Y'all okay with it? Cause
what? How you have
Seth,
it?
come on, help me out here.
Oh, whatever the rule is. It's not like a hey, you do this,
right,
you do
it's not-
that.
we're
It's whatever
trying
the
to
rule
find
is.
out. I mean,
Yeah, there we go.
I found it.
That's a good.
Relief is relief, right? Yeah, it's relief.
Don't matter if you're actually.
Well,
OB
we'll
or
find
not,
out in
it's
just a sec. You know.
Yeah, I haven't taken
That
the
would be
I haven't taken the
asinine.
new exam yet, right?
I don't even know
So-
if that was.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in it.
I know it's
either.
like if you're just as close to OB, you can actually mark it like close
And they
Probably.
recapped it.
July, even if you're not OB.
Right.
Like if you have a
Right. If I'm like
that way.
here, I still have to
this is a
take
good
relief
time
off
to
the
learn
OB.
Right.
what the right one is.
Dumb. I'm gonna put real quick right now. You can call me later if you want. Misplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's if you're OB.
That's
good?
if you're OB. Okay.
For an inbound disc within 1 meter, OB line still requires perpendicular
It's-
relief.
Yep. It
If
is.
it-
It's
still
perpendicular if it's not
perpendicular
OB, and
if
it's
it's
a half
not OB.
circle if it is OB.
It's a semicircle if
Oh
it
my
is
gosh,
OB.
PDGA.
You can read it too long.
I remember that sticking out because I was like, I thought it was weird
backwards.
too.
You can only take the relief backwards if you're OB. But that's still okay.
Right.
Okay, so we're okay with this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the PDJ is okay.
Yeah, right. The PDGA is okay. That is so weird. I guess even if it was the new rule, that's still legal. So.
So certainly a clarification, as Sarah was not out of bounds, and that was part of the discussion as to whether or not she could use a semicircle, which we talked about earlier, Val, or if she would have to just play it out because she was not out of bounds. There's a little clarification and distinction in the rules, and it doesn't matter.
After all that,
It's unbelievable. I hadn't fully processed everything that had just happened there, and Sarah Hokum resets, steps up, and cans the putt.
huh. Well, it seems that all of us are going to need a refresher on what the rules changes have been. So, you know, at the beginning of the season, imagine getting later into the season. These rules are really going to come into play more often than not. And you don't want to have somebody call you out on playing the rule wrong, and, you know, strokes and maybe titles could be on the line at that point.
Oh, and what a momentum shift as Sarah Hokum cashes in for the birdie. She has now a 2-stroke lead with just 2 par 5s, holes 17 and 18 to play. And Paige Pierce picks up the birdie. Back and forth. Paige and Kat, I believe they'll both move to 6 under par. And Missy now the 2-stroke deficit to Sarah Hokum. Here we are on the tee of hole 18 with Rebecca Cox. She has a 1-stroke advantage over Owen Scoggins.
There's a lot of out of bounds on this drive, and Rebecca finds a sand trap.
And what a huge mistake here, as she likely could walk away with the win if she were to just take a par.
But even playing safe on this one, it's difficult to do. It's a golf green, sand trap. I think the drive is the most important part of this hole.
And That is a green flag for Onskagen. She didn't seem thrilled about it, but she's in bounds, and right now certainly has an advantage over Rebecca. Here's Deanne Carey. She currently sits with a 1-stroke advantage over Heather Young. She's at +2. Heather sits at +3.
Doesn't like it. Looks like it's headed straight for the middle of the golf green. But
oh, it made it to the fringe, it looks like, Val. So you're right. It was headed to the middle, but then somehow scooted past, got to the fringe, so she's inbounds.
And being on that left-hand side is important. While it looks like this fairway is big and wide open, there's a mandatory that forces players to throw on the left-hand side. The tree kind of center of our frame, now right of our frame, that's the mandatory. So on the left-hand side, gives you a little bit more space to make sure you're making the mando, make sure you have a clear second shot. Over to 17, another par 5. All par 5s from here on out. But it starts with a big climb up the hill, and Katrina using the roller to try and give herself a little bit more of a scoot.
Oh, nice and high there, girl.
A little self-assessment by Pierce. And just to briefly put this into perspective, yesterday during the doubles when they were playing best shot, the hottest rounds that came in were -9. There was 3 of them. There were 3 9s and a -8. Right now we're seeing both Kat and Paige with 2 holes left to play, both sitting at -6. So going out there and getting plenty of work done solo.
Sound of the claps, I'm going to assume that one's safe. Wasn't high enough to kind of get as much distance as possible, but right in the middle.
Also right in the middle for Missy Gannon, the laser that she released. But right now she has literally and figuratively an uphill climb against Sarah Holcomb, sitting 2 behind her.
Not sure what happened there.
Taking a quick look at the scores, Heather Young, as I said, currently with a 1-stroke deficit as she sits at +3 to Deanne Carey's +2. Scoggins connecting with a tree. Back to our top-seeded card, Holcomb with her 2nd shot on 17.
Wow, and just making it to the top of the hill. All these players have a blind shot up and over the hill. It's 900 feet. It's over 900 feet, this entire hole. So one big blast, even though you can't see where you're landing, there's not a lot of danger that the players can find. But the challenge of throwing over the hill, having the height perfected, and making sure you're getting that distance.
And up ahead, Jessica Weiss putting for birdie on the green of 17. And it sits down, which is, again, all she needs to do is, I'll say, plop it right next to the basket. Just set it down, pitch in, and walk away. Although she has made things a little bit closer between her and Haley.
Wow. Yeah, Haley's really been making a comeback.
Paige likes it. This is her second shot. Gaining a ton of distance. And this is Haley King for her birdie look, and she cashes it in. So Haley King really fighting back, as you just said, Val. Just a few moments ago, we were thinking Jessica could just kind of casually walk this one in, but Haley is making a charge and making it very competitive.
Yeah, Haley has caught up 4 strokes in the last 3 holes. It's a Haley King style, right?
And it's going to come down to hole 18 between the two of them. So, of course, we'll keep an eye on that. Just 1 stroke now separating them. Also, the 1 stroke deficit here for Heather Young, down to Deanne Carey.
Looked like a good shot, and she gets some props from teammate. Made the Mando. Now it's all about finishing this off strong, and it's close. It's close. It could come down to putts. Similar to what we saw yesterday in the doubles matches. You know, it could come down to 18's green.
And with the exception of Missy and Sarah, every other match is just 1 stroke apart from each other. That's incredible.
Sand traps. I think I'm just going to throw a stable disc short. Just like let it come back. The left side of the thing to go to the right?
Don't.
Is it the wall or the path?
The wall. The wall.
More stable. Make sure I don't go too long.
We hear the game plan coming in from Sarah Holcomb along with her caddy.
Nice and safe.
And we talk about the how close all of this is. The teams are playing for $5,000 here today. The winning team gets bonuses, and each player gets bonuses for winning their match. So not only are you treated like the all-star that you are for the weekend at this incredible resort and all the amenities that go along with it, but certainly some money on the line, both as a team and some personal accolades and rewards. And that is out of bounds. What a mistake by Missy Gannon. And now we're jumping over to Deanne Carey on hole 18. Oh, what a beautiful shot. Deanne Carey trying to upset Heather Young.
To make her mad?
I think it will do that too.
This upshot requires a lot of accuracy. Going long and keeping it to the right is the best option. But there's out of bounds behind the basket, and then the golf green and sand trap in front. And it's perched on a hill. Did I mention that?
Oh, and just when I thought that was going to check up.
She's stay safe. And the cart path right there is safe. The road is out of bounds beyond.
So this is Paige's third shot.
Katrina kept it safe. Paige just needs to keep it safe, but get it close to the pin. That looks like short grass from the golf green. That'll be out of bounds. And then, yeah, where will she take it? I'm not sure she's going to be close enough to feel comfortable saving that putt.
Wow, and what a mistake here by Pierce. So both players on Team Paige's struggling with their shots on 17, both Pierce and Gannon.
And Paige was so confident. I mean, she put together an incredible team in the draft. She was trash talking about how confident her team was and expected to just sweep the competition. Not looking like that today. And even though Team Katrina was trailing by 1 point leading into today, her team is pulling through for her.
And Sarah Hookham certainly part of that team. She sits at 3 under compared to Missy Gannon's 1 under. That was at the start of this hole. And Sarah's trying to all but close out this match here on 17. As you said, plenty of danger looms on 18, but if you're sitting with a 2 or 3 stroke lead, that should be more than comfortable as you head into the par 5 hole number 18.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with maybe a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right now, Missy Gannon sits with the biggest deficit of any of our remaining competitors.
I'd love to see a little bit more run out of that one, especially like what you're saying. Now at this point, Missy's just pushing it to 18.
Here's Rebecca Cox.
Now Rebecca ran into some difficulties early in this hole.
Solid putt for Owen. We believe that might be to, in fact, take a half a point in the match. She was down 1 going into that hole with Rebecca Cox. We'll get confirmation on that in a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Death drop off behind the basket.
And she could have done without the roll. I'm good with the aggressive line and the putt there, but she could have done without that extra roll. Oh no, and the pressure getting to Rebecca Cox, that looks like that might be the difference. I believe she needed that to, in fact, take half of the match with Owen Scoggins. And unfortunately for Rebecca, she's going to give the overall match to Owen, even with that make. So it all came down to hole 18. Owen was trailing. She jumps ahead of Rebecca Cox, and now Owen has just earned a point for Team Pierce.
So card 3 just cancels each other out, where Deanne Carey takes the win for Team Katrina, Owen takes the win for Team Paige. So card 3, thanks for all your work out there, but
it's a net cancel.
Exactly.
So in an official capacity today, Madison Walker has gained 1 point for Team Pierce, along with Owen Scoggins, who's gained 1 point. However, Heather Young lost to Deanne Carey, so Deanne Carey has earned a point for Team Katrina. Wow, it's cards 2 and 3, or should I say card 2 and then card 1 that are going to decide this still. Here's Sarah Holcomb, currently with a lead over Missy Gannon.
I was about to say, nearly solidified the lead and the win going into 18 if she were to make that putt. Solid putt from Paige, but Katrina will take a stroke. Playing it safe, playing it long. She just lays up under the basket. So having as many strokes as possible going into 18 is crucial because that drive can find danger.
Wow, Jessica Weiss having to get very creative, needing to navigate around that tree, which is marked as a Mando.
Heather Young, Haley King is trailing by 1 stroke behind Jessica, trying to make a comeback here.
As you said just moments ago, Jessica Weiss had that 4 or 5 stroke advantage, and now it's all coming down to hole number 18. We saw a reverse of scores with Owen and Rebecca just a little while ago, but Owen ended up pulling it off. It sounds like we're green side with a couple of our competitors from card 3. We've got Deanne Carey and Owen Scoggins. Jamie Thomas is down there. Take it away.
After a long, hard-fought weekend at the All-Stars here, we've got Deanne Carey and Owen Scoggins, winners of their respective matches. Deanne, 1 stroke, just getting the win over Heather Young. How you feeling right now?
Relieved. It was a battle. She did not let up the entire time, but I held her off till the end, so.
Must have felt pretty good to be able to lay up what it could have been an eagle run from about 70 for an easy birdie, huh?
Yeah, I was really wanting to run it, and then I saw how close she was, and I was like, no, we're just going to lay this up and take the easy win.
Well, you're going to earn a point for Team Katrina, while Owen over here getting a point for Team Paige, knotting up the card. Owen, 3 under par today. How'd you do it out there?
Well, you know, it was very exciting, and I have to make a lot of putt to tie with Rebecca because she parked everything. For me, I leave like 20 feet, 25, 30 feet out, so I have to. But anyway, oh my God, Rebecca played so good today, and I have to work so hard to got her today. So, woo.
Well, you were able to do it. 2-stroke victory. Congratulations to both of you. Go cheer on your team.
Thank you.
As you said, that's a net wash on card number 3. Congratulations to both of them. And as it currently stands at this exact moment, Team Paige with the 1-point deficit to Team Katrina. However, we see that Haley King is doing some work trying to either tie up or get past Jessica Weiss here on the final hole. Everybody on site needs to know what the scores are relative to their competitors. And you must make decisions accordingly. You heard just a moment ago, Deanne Carey not worried about the eagle. All she wanted to do is be able to pitch it up and walk away. She said, I'd walk away with the easy birdie. Didn't want to risk anything, and that is exactly the mentality you need to have, and you must know what the scores are coming into this final hole. Jessica Weiss with a little bit of a uphill tester, and I only say that because of Jessica's release. She has that kind of high Anheuser release on a lot of her putts, or she comes from very low with a really angled hyzer putt. So either way, when she's putting uphill with that much angle, they're a little bit tougher than what you see from a few of the other competitors. So not quite a gimme there for Weiss. We'll see how that shakes out in a moment. But first, we're back with Sarah Hokum. The tee shot on 18.
Starts with landing this drive safely inbounds.
So crucial, and Hokum does get the green flag. A little more up ahead on the fairway is Lisa Fakis. And flirting with the OB, but she stays safe. Fakis comes into 18 with a one-stroke advantage over Kona Panis. Missy's going to need the best driver of her day here. Asking for the positioning to get left, and finds a tiny little sliver there that's inbounds. That should set her up very nicely for her second shot to the pin. She may need the eagle if she wants any chance to get past Sarah Hokum.
Trina Allen leading Pierce by 1. Safety is key, but for both of these players, they can reach the pin for eagle, and Katrina has to assume that's what Paige is trying to do. She's going to lay it all out on the line. So Katrina put a pump on that drive. Long, safe, far to the left.
Oh, damn it.
To stay alive, Paige needs us inbounds.
Paige
Really
doesn't like it if it tracks. Oh, and that will be the end of the match between Paige and Kat, as she has missed the Mando. It may be the end of the match. I guess anything is still possible, but that is a huge miss by Paige Pierce.
It's not solidified, but it probably is solidified.
Yeah, and Lisa Fakis just trying to pitch it up to walk away with it. And Kona's miss. Little insult to injury as that catches edge and rolls down. And there you have it. I believe that is to potentially knot up the match, assuming Jessica has this short one. And she does put it in. That's even a little closer than I realized, but Jessica puts it in. However, Haley King battles back and takes a half a point along with Jessica Weiss. So what was a 5-stroke deficit ended up in a tie by the end. Absolutely incredible.
And there's not much drama now currently remaining with our first card. But here's taking a look here at the second card. You can see it hasn't changed to 18 between Haley and Jessica. So now to confirm, I see it coming through. So solidified. Haley and Jessica did tie for this match, and Lisa Fakis takes the win against Kona.
The resilience out of Haley King. And I would be the first to admit I had that all but wrapped up for Jessica. I was just thinking she needed to walk it in, and Haley King said, yeah, I hear you. Simmer down in the booth over there, Miller. I got this. And Haley King, what a great battle back.
And it's a good sign. You know, it's something we talk about with Haley a lot. You know, if she's not playing well, she tends to give up. But what we saw late in the later parts of last season, you know, she really just stuck with it and continued to grind it out. And that's proof that that continues on this year. I mean, she could have given up. She was way far back. We're halfway through the course. She was 5 strokes behind, and she came back and fought for that half point for her team. So she did good work.
Yeah, certainly no quit in Haley King. The question is, will it be enough? And right now, it is looking like it's going to be Team Cat as she's trying to put things together. And Katrina on the lead card, the feature card, taking down Paige Pierce. That's what she's hoping to do. And Sarah Hokum currently in command over Missy Gannon. This is some lights out play here, Val. Sarah Hokum here on 18. That looks safe. Hokum walking away with, well, at this point, Hokum walking away with potentially a 4 or a 5 should be just enough for her.
Nope, whatever. I'm always just ready.
And unless a match gets flipped here on 18, this is how it shakes out at the moment, or how it stands. Team Paige 1 point behind Team Katrina. Kat throwing just her second shot. And now it's just a matter of, will Kat end in style with an eagle, or will she just pitch it up there for the birdie? I guess we'll see what she does and how she reacts to Paige, but I'm guessing a little pitch up underneath the basket will then award her a tap in birdie. Katrina Allen, the captain, taking down the other captain in Paige Pierce. Here's Missy Gannon. Pushes over toward the OB, but safe for Gannon. Paige heading to the drop zone after the miss Mando. So this will be her third.
That's a pretty gracious drop zone, I'd say. Far on the left-hand side, that's ideal landing zone for your drive. Hoping to throw it in, but not this time.
Pierce likely looking to get up and down and walk away with a par, which will not be enough because Katrina Allen, after the great drive, sets herself up for this second shot. And an incredible performance here by Katrina Allen. Likely will finish with at least a birdie, which would push her to 7 under on the individual scoring. But this is the score that matters the most right here. The overall team points. Team Paige looking at 6 points. Team Katrina looking at 7. Kat, as you mentioned earlier today, Val, came in with the 1 point deficit. But today, looks like she's going to get past that.
I love the layout this year. I mean, it leaves all the drama, excuse me, down to that final day for the singles match. And then it gives every player on each one of the teams the opportunity to stand up for their team, the responsibilities on their shoulders. And I think it's been really fun to watch.
Well, and to take that a little bit more, whether you were the 5th seed or the 7th seed or the 1st seed, it didn't matter. Your matchup meant just as much to the team as every other matchup, including our wild card competitors, Madison Walker, Holly Finley. Their matchup meant just as much as the Paige and Kat matchup meant today.
Right.
So it's, I certainly agree with you in that the format is a lot of fun and puts a ton of pressure on really every single player, because it's not just for yourself and your own pride and honor, but it's also to perform for your team. And your team captain here, Paige Pierce, probably looking to get aggressive, maybe something a little explosive here on the final throw, or what she would hope is the final throw.
And leading into the event after the draft, you know, with Paige looking so confident in her team, she had a lot of players on there where you would give them the advantage in the skills and then maybe doubling up. She had the distance drivers with the putters. But with Team Katrina, the players were more on like an even playing field. And I feel like they had more to fight for. And it really shows today of just sticking with it. And they fought for all these points.
Continuing to fight for any points is Missy Gannon.
I'm wondering if they know what the points breakdown is right now. I'm wondering if they know what the overall points are. I'm assuming Katrina knows that she's taken this point away from Paige, but do they know that they're going to take down the win for the team?
Something tells me that, yes, they are aware of it. I think maybe that's even where Austin was stepping in. He first posted a hot take on Twitter, and then he came and then gave an update as to Kat in the scoring. The hot take here is going to be that Team Kat is going to take down Team Paige. Well, maybe they are discussing it. Maybe they don't know. Two legends of our game standing shoulder to shoulder. Here's Missy Gannon. Solid putt to finish. Kat say, I'm just going to lay up anyway.
Especially after Paige missed.
And your winner of the All-Star Weekend, your captain, Katrina Allen, and Team Kat.
Ladies and gentlemen, Katrina Allen and Sarah Hope in the final matches. And Team Kat has won 7-6. Give them a big round of applause.
Right here, guys. Everybody right here. Awesome.
All right, everybody stay right here. We're here with Team Katrina, the winning team.
Katrina, it all came down to the last match right there. No stranger to pressure situations. How much fun was that?
It was really fun, and we had a great group. And yeah, I didn't know until right now that we won, so I'm just taking it in.
And how about this course? What was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome? Obviously, it's a big battle on that last card to bring home this victory.
Lots of trouble greens. You know, like even though I'd like to say I make that putt every time, it could also roll right back to you, and that can happen on almost every green, it feels like, out here. So just staying in it and staying mentally strong throughout the whole round.
Well, you overcame a 1-point deficit after 2 days to take the victory. Celebrate with your team. Congratulations to all of you. Great job.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Let's go, Team Kat! Team Kat! More pictures? Can you pictures? Yeah, before I start crying. Before I start crying.
Sorry, your memory full.
I love it.
And speaking of full of memories, that's exactly what all of those competitors will take home. What an incredible weekend and a great performance by all of them. As we said, the 1-point deficit, but it didn't matter because the singles play came out today. They came out firing, and they took it down.
Yeah, and that was fun to watch. Having a close-fought battle all the way down to the very end, where even the team captain doesn't know who won or not. I mean, Katrina was clearly focused on playing really well because she had the highest seed, the toughest competition, and they looked like they had a blast out there. And I think both teams had a fun weekend, and I think it's going to lead to great things this season. So what a great start to the year.
Certainly as well. We'll recap everything, but first we're going to stand down for just a moment. We'll conclude our 2022 All-Star Weekend on the FPO side in just a minute. We'll see you right here on the Disc Golf Network.
I would recommend the Envy to every single person that plays disc golf.
This is such a good throwing putter.
If you don't have an Envy in your bag, I don't know what you're doing.
The Envy is one of the most pure, straight flying putters.
Comes out clean, can handle power, it can handle touch. It's just very versatile.
It holds any line that you're really putting it on. It's so good. So good! It's so good.
Most people just see a disc. At Discraft, we see over 40 years of innovation, driven by passion, consistency that inspires talent, built on a foundation, designed for success. Over 4 decades of experience behind your first throw.
The crowd was so spectacular today. Just the energy from you all was just amazing.
I love you, Oregon!
Welcome back, everyone. Valarie Jenkins alongside myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and Val. Last year, we saw the introduction of the All-Star Weekend. We had a lot of fun with it in Arizona. A few months later, we saw a match play championship take place.
Yeah.
I feel like this year at the All-Stars, we kind of mixed a little bit of those philosophies together. And overall, after adding in the skills competition, I think we accomplished everything we set out to do here this morning.
Yeah, I think so. And like I was saying at the beginning of the show, this weekend, the way it was formatted with the skills competition at the beginning of the weekend, and then we led to doubles, teaming everybody up together, and then breaking everybody apart and putting the true golf game to test. And that's where all the scores, you know, shook up. That's where all the points were had in that final day. And so I just love that, the progression of how this week was laid out. And I think it made for great competition. I mean, it literally came down to the last groups, back and forth all day, as something you would expect, but it was really fun to watch.
Well, you spoke of great competition. I think we're going to roll a little tape on some of the competition that we saw out there today. So many highlights, so many great shots, all provided by our FPO division. Let's take a look back. Here's Rebecca Cox. We've got Team Katrina competitors here, your champions. You see how much more bundled up we were when things got started this morning. Rebecca Cox parking at, here's Sarah Hokum playing the forehand. I believe this is hole number 11, 360, slightly downhill.
Yeah, Sarah had some impressive throws today. She had some great putts at the beginning of her round. And Katrina was just on point. I mean, a lot of those times where she would have to either follow up Paige's drive, or she made a great putt to compete with Paige. She shot a 7 down. The best score out of yesterday's doubles match was 9 down. So just alone, Katrina held her weight and took the point for her team.
And truly just carrying the weight of her team, putting them on her back and saying, hey, I'm going to lead. I'm going to take down Paige Pierce, her, of course, fierce competitor, the one that she's gone against for so many years. And today she gets past her and then helps lead her own team to victory.
Yeah.
Well, the best part about this is we still have an afternoon's worth of MPO play. We were certainly all warmed up with the FPO action, but this afternoon we're going to close out the All-Star weekend with our MPO competitors. So with that, Valarie Jenkins along with Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, tune back in. 12:30 Mountain Time is when you're going to see our MPO competitors compete for the singles at the 2022 Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Star Weekend. We'll see you then.